So how's the transition been income-wise anyway?
Oh, I'm really honest and open about it. Again, if it helps other people make the decision, I'm all for it. So my first year, I did about 250,000 in turnover in the first year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that was just me, and then using contractors for the bigger jobs.
So today I'm joined by Shaun Thomas from Jim's HazMat Removal, which is a great division, which has been around for a while, but it probably doesn't get the love it needs to get from our head office. So we're trying to do a lot more of that. So Shaun's jumping on today to really tell us in detail about this division, about potential for it as well, and obviously share his story. So Shaun, first, you want to talk about how you got involved in this division in the first place, and actually what made you choose this division?
Yeah, no, I was actually just scrolling through Facebook one day and an ad for the Jim's HazMat division popped up. I clicked on it, watched the video, did some research through Google about all the different services in it. So like asbestos, mold and all that kind of stuff. And then, just put in an inquiry through and go phone call.
And what piqued your interest about it out of all the divisions? Because it's something where people, because it might seem like, you need a technical background for it or something like that. So what made you sort of decide on this one?
Yeah, no, it started with mold because I was like, I've got mold in my bathroom. And then we had friends buy a house and they had asbestos in their house. And then little things like that, I was just like, I just know every single service we offer. I know someone that needs that service. So I was like, and then looked into it and had massive potential.
I think up in Queensland, there'd be a lot of this asbestos and mold and stuff, obviously, with the climate up there. Is there? How prevalent is up in where you are?
Yeah, no, it's quite a lot, especially the mold at the moment. I'm coming to Queensland summer. The mold's starting to really come through now. Same with the asbestos. It's been around and it's everywhere. I
was going to say then, so what were you doing prior to Jim's?
So I was a store manager at a supermarket for 10 years.
Yep. Awesome. And then what motivated you to make a switch? Because they treat Audi well. They do a lot of stories on saying Audi's managers are paid this and that. So what made you make the switch from that?
No, yeah, again, great company to work for. I think it just 10 years is just time for a change and just to work for myself. Worked for a boss for the last 20 years in the store manager role capacity. So I just thought, time to do it. Yeah, just needed to change.
And it can be quite scary doing that because obviously people have mortgages and consistent income, they're used to it. So like in your research, were you looking at other things besides gyms, or was it just gyms, or what was it about this gym system that you saw that got you to take the plunge and come to training?
So I wasn't really looking at another franchise. Again, it just popped up. However, going into the HazMat division, there's a lot of trust needed when you're choosing someone to do your asbestos removal or your mold and stuff. And I figured Jim's name is, such a trusted brand that I was like, with that, it goes so well together.
And can we just talk about the training component then? Because you come from a completely unrelated background to what you're doing now. So do you want to actually just outline for people the training that you actually go through? Because I presume there's quite a bit involved and it would have been completely new to you as well. So just maybe just outline for people what training you go through.
Yeah, a lot of training with Franchisor. So, for example, my very first job I did with him, one of the workers handed me a unsharpened pencil and a Stanley knife and said, "Can you sharpen it?" And I had no idea. That's the kind of absolute no knowledge in the building industry at all. So, I had to learn everything. Didn't own a power tool. I know it's really embarrassing, but I tell the story because, again, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But it was just jumping on a lot of jobs with my franchisor and just the feedback, calling him whenever I needed help with quotes and just doing that. We also do a lot of third-party training, so ICRC training, so that's with your mold and all that kind of thing as well. So, a lot of outside training as well, but it's just jumping on those jobs and actually just hands-on getting it done.
Well, I love hearing that sort of stuff because it's completely new field for you, and that's a great story to illustrate that. And you've been going for just over a year, and that's great to hear how Gary just took you out. That's probably the best way to learn, is getting you out on job sites and getting you to see what's going on there. So do you want to just explain to people from the outside, because a lot of people outside gyms wouldn't know what this term is, but what is a franchisor anyway, and how they assisted you besides taking you out on jobs? What else do they do for you?
So Gary's been great support for last year. So he does a lot of, again, being an employee for the last however many years, 10 years. The mindset change from being an employee to a business owner has been massive. So we do a lot of business talks where it's, stepping back and not just having that employee mindset of getting told what to do. It's going out there and actually chasing the work and all that kind of stuff. So that's a big part of it. Also the training, just the hands-on training as well has been good.
And what about the theory side of it? Like, you said third-party people you do the training with, is that just from for identification or for the testing component of it, or how do you learn that sort of stuff?
Yeah, because for example, your asbestos industry is so regulated, you need to actually go get your license and do all the training for that to actually do any jobs. With mold, there's a 5-day course for it. Same with the water damage course as well. So there's a lot of training to go into it before you can actually start doing the jobs. Just means we do them properly. There's a lot of other industries out there that cut corners and stuff, but we definitely don't do that. We follow by the book.
Let's talk about that. So do you want to outline for people what is the process, or you mentioned that compared to other companies. So what's your key difference then in how you do the testing and the analysis and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I go to a lot of sites where the owner's not sure if it's asbestos. So again, there's two really ways of knowing. One, you get it tested in the lab, so another lab testing, or two, there's like a sticker on the back of asbestos sheet saying it's asbestos. Other than that, you can look at a wall and go, yeah, I think it is, but there's no way of going 100% it is without those two indicators. So we make sure we do one of those. For example, I went and did a testing for a bathroom. It ended up not being asbestos, so the customer actually saved a lot of money because, again, we to use our services, he could just do it himself for the bathroom removal.
And what kind of certifications do you get or do you provide to clients?
Yep. So once we get the certificate, we'll send it off to the client. So they actually get a certificate of where we sampled it and if it's positive or not and what type of asbestos it is. So if it's, your friable, obviously we can't touch it because that's a different ball game altogether. We just really focus on the non-bonded asbestos.
Now, let's say, for example, you identify it and you go to the customer, we've identified it. What's then the next process for the customer? Because obviously it has to be removed, or is it up to them, or how does it normally work from there?
It's up to them if they want to remove it. We mostly get phone calls if they're looking at doing renovations anyway. So it's, they're going to get the work done anyway. It's just if it is asbestos or not, or just to confirm that it is.
And I was going to say, with the testing, is there a time frame or how long does it normally take for this process?
Yeah, generally, once we take the sample, as soon as we drop it off the lab, they're pretty good. Within 24 hours, we get the results to say if it's positive or not and what type of asbestos it is.
And Josh, who lined up the interview, said you had some specific goals when you started and you're saying you smashed them early on. So what was the sort of goals you had for yourself at the start? You've just been going for more a year now, and I'll give you a bit of a shout out with your survey ratings. You've got a really great rating. You've got 53 ratings at an average of 4.9 stars. So Jim will wipe that complaint and get that to perfect 5 stars. That's a really good sign in a division with your division, especially because you don't have the luxury of the mowing or the cleaning regular leads coming through with yours. So to do that in the first year is a really, really good effort for your division. So what were maybe your goals and how did you achieve those in your start?
Yeah, the first 12 months for me was actually just learning how to do the jobs. That was the biggest thing for me. Again, coming out of an industry into a brand new one, it was just learning actually how to complete everything. We offer, I think, up to 16 different services in the HazMat division. So it's just learning each and every one of them. Yeah, so I did that in the first year, which is great.
Was it for you a financial thing, or was it just learning how to be an expert at what you do on all those services? What was it more for you in the goals?
For me,
your goals there?
Yeah, when I first started, it was all about becoming not an expert, but really qualified and have the experience to offer the services. So when I'm walking into a job, it's a lot easier to quote it or give advice and all that kind of stuff because I've done a lot of the work. Whereas obviously when you first start, I walk to your house, it's kind of a puzzle and you got to work it out. So a lot more phone calls were happening between me and the franchisor. And now it's really pushed the financial towards the end of the last 6 months of last year.
That's great. And I'm looking at your website now. So you mentioned 16 services. I can see 4 or 5 listed on here. So what are the common things that you're doing for customers? Obviously, if someone's doing renovation, they want to know if they've got asbestos or not before they do it, which is one. You mentioned the mold component. So generally, what else are you doing often for customers?
Yeah, I guess the great thing about our division is if you're coming into our division, you can kind of choose which way you want to go. You don't have to offer all 16. So you can do just asbestos if you wanted to, or mold. Again, it's your own business. I wanted to learn everything, so I could offer everything. Yeah, so mold and asbestos are our main ones. I do a lot of syringe pickups. So I'm actually with Metricon to go once a fortnight to one of their sites and do a syringe sweep. Yeah, so that's one of the things. And also the biohazard. So I'm actually doing my crime and trauma course towards the end of the month, so I can start doing crime scenes and trauma cleans.
Really? I didn't know that. That was the first one for me. I've heard of some franchisees in cleaning doing trauma cleaning, but do you want to talk about the biohazard side of it then? So what's that going to enable you to do?
Doing a course will help me with a lot of hoarder cleans as well. So obviously there's a lot of biohazard components when you're doing a hoarder clean, depending on how. I walked into a house and I think we picked up 100 syringes just in the bedroom. So that was just one room of the house that we did that kind of stuff. So I guess it's just the knowledge. They all intertwine with each other. So if we're removing asbestos, if we find mold behind it, we can actually offer the mold service as well because we've got the experience of finding syringes. We can do that at the same time. So they're all kind of intertwined, which is a good thing.
Now, they're a lot more health conscious now, especially, if you've got young kids and stuff, the mold component. So how serious is not treating mold, for example, and how do you, let's say you don't identify mold, what can you guys actually do about it to help the customer? Do you want to just go in a bit more detail about it? Because I'm quite interested to hear this because I think a lot more people, have kids with asthma and a lot more health conscious and rental properties and all that sort of stuff. I think that's a service which everyone can really use with.
So with the mold, I've seen it firsthand where you've gone to one job, say on the Friday, and you go back to Tuesday and the mold has just exploded in the house. It can be so quick how quickly it can spread in the house if it's not maintained quickly. You just hear stories of people that have gone through mold. I went to a customer's house and there's mold in the bedroom and the asthma played up, a lot of chest infections, and just because it wasn't treated, we eventually got it out. And maintain the room for them. But yeah, if you don't get it treated quickly, again, I'm not a doctor, so everyone's different. I can't give that kind of advice, but I can just tell you the stories that I've been told in the past, just from people telling me what's happened to them with those kinds of the environment of their house if it's not treated.
It's quite serious. Absolutely quite serious. And I was going to say then the treating side, how do you actually treat it? Is it with like the, I've seen mold remediation, like the fans they bring in, or how do you actually treat the mold itself?
Depends on the job. So it really, really depends on, every job is so different. It can be from a chemical clean to a full strip out. My franchisor is currently doing a full strip out of a house. So water bursts upstairs and the whole house has to be stripped out, cleaned. And that's the job I was talking about. We went in 1 week and then the next week it just exploded. So yeah, it's just so different for every job. And that's why we go to every single job in person. We don't give quotes or anything over the phone because we just don't know, because it's such it's a puzzle. And that's why we love it, is working at that puzzle for these kinds of jobs, is finding out why the mold's there and then how can we attack it.
Yeah. And I was going to say as well, do you get much requests from landlords or from real estate agents? Because I think this is a service which it sounds like a must for any rental property. Like if there's a changeover in tenant or whatever, I think something like this. And I know you guys do meth as well. I think the methamphetamine, I think it's if you're a property agent, I think Jim's HazMat is a no-brainer for anything.
I think it's because we're a one-stop shop. So you give me, I can do most of the services for the tenant. So like if it's horta cleans and all like the mold and stuff, we can go and investigate. We can clean the house before a new tenant comes in. The mold sector and same with the meth isn't regulated at the moment, but it is coming. So I think once it becomes regulated, it's going to be a really big industry.
Oh, that's a good point to mention. So it's not regulated, but you reckon it's going to become regulated yet? Okay.
Yeah, it'll be treated like asbestos in the next 5 years just because of health concerns are, just the same.
And that's a really good point. And I think it's something that's really important. I was going to say as well then, income-wise, you don't have to say what you're making, but are you happy with the level of income you're doing to what you're doing previously? Because you've been going for just around a year now, which is, to get first year business is always the toughest. So how's the transition been income-wise anyway?
Oh, I'm really honest and open about it. Again, if it helps other people make the decision, I'm all for it. So my first year, I did about 250,000 in turnover in the first year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that was just me, and then using contractors for the bigger jobs.
And with the cost side of it, because we always go, right, let's say we do a lot of stuff online, we go, someone says, I'm making 400 grand. They go, oh, well, what about insurances? What about this? What about your fees? Jim, you got to give Jim 50%. What about that? So what's the actual cost involved with running this business? You have to go into everything, but what's it like? Is there a lot of equipment you need, or what else is involved?
For us, the startup, obviously with all your fees, it's about $80,000 to start. And then monthly, you've got your fees. For us, I think they're roughly around $2,000 a month, which is great considering like that's all your advertising, the help from the franchisors, like that's all included. So it's definitely worth it. So, and then you've just got your plastics and all those kinds of things on top of that, which is your ongoing, costs, I guess. So it's not a lot once you've set up. It's just your time and your experience.
That's a pretty good ROI when you think about it. A lot of people might look at site-based franchises like a quick service restaurant QSR, and they put 350 grand into it or whatever, and then they've got to give a 12.5%, royalty on everything, right? Whereas if you paid around 80 grand, that's your full training. You've learned, you become qualified in a completely new industry, and you can start earning from day one. And that's a really great first year with your business. So just because you've done your first year now, what's your plan moving forward? Like, is it an income goal thing for you? Is it just becoming more knowledgeable? Are you looking to scale it with employees, or just what are you trying to do with your business moving forward?
Yeah, I guess the knowledge is always going to be a big, number one thing for me. It's always consuming knowledge. But for me last year was all about learning. Yeah, it's learning the and doing all that. And now this year's the growth. So I was taking on employees, taking on a lot of insurance work. I didn't want to take that on before I knew exactly what I was doing because I don't want to damage the Jim's brand. So I wanted to make sure I did every job 100% before I took on that work. So this year is all about the growth.
And have you been enjoying the change? Because pretty gutsy to do what you did, completely comfortable doing this, managing in Audi, is a good employer to do on this. And you mentioned before about mindset, which is great, how you had to change from an employee to a more proactive mindset. Have you actually enjoyed the change overall?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Work for myself in that. I think last year, on average, I do maybe 3 to 4 days a week working. Again, good thing about our division is our jobs are a lot higher than, say, like a mowing, not dissing the mowing franchises, but like for me, an asbestos job, they range from anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000. So we can do 1 or 2 of those a week and you're good. And then the rest of the time is just quoting and making those relationships with builders and real estate agents.
I was going to say then, so you mentioned the proactive side of it. So is that your local area marketing stuff? Are you just dropping into real estate agents, or how are you building those relationships?
Yeah, so I make a rule now. Whenever I get a lead from a real estate agent, I try and see them within 24 to 48 hours in person, just to drop off a flyer or just to say, hey, just to put my name out there. Because again, with my division, we don't get a lot of repeat jobs because once you remove the asbestos, that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas with with your real estate agents, they give you consistent work. So I try and get in front of them as quickly as possible. rather than just, sitting back and waiting for those leads to come in. It's my own business, so I go out there chasing it.
And what about the builders?
Yeah, builders are, good. Once you get a couple of builders, again, it's the same thing. You want those kind of people that will give you repeat business rather than, obviously, because like I said, we're not like mowing where we keep mowing the same grass over and over. We have to go to different, we have to travel for it, which is good. But no, the builders are, it's good.
But what you're saying to me, it sounds like it's a very interesting job. Like you've got to problem solve constantly. And, you can't really make a mistake because if you do miss asbestos or something, it can be issues. So I think it's something where it sounds like you got to be very inquisitive or you've got to enjoy problem solving. Is that what you find the best part of it or what else is it?
Oh, I treat every job, especially asbestos removal for like your residential, as if I live there. I've got 2 young boys at home. So I just think, would I bring my kids back into this house? So if I'm not happy or I don't think it's safe enough, then we keep going till it is. I just treat every house like mine. So I know, I'm comfortable. I'd bring my family back into this house. So that's the level of care that I do because, again, I couldn't, on my conscience, if I'd made a mistake and someone gets sick, couldn't handle it. So I just treat every house just like if my family was moving back in or a friend was moving back in. So we just, really look after your houses. But you're right. The puzzles is great. I did one job where a supermarket caught on fire. They had a butcher, sat there for 2 months before they called us to come and remove it. So just working out how to get like $60,000 worth of meat that's been sitting there for 2 months in this freezer. You could smell it like a K away. It was great, very scrub. But I mean, like I would never have done that at Aldi kind of thing. It's the same packing shop. Decided to go in. I went to local IGAs and asked to see their freezers, see how much it is, how we could get it out, did all like the prep for it and stuff. And then on the day, it was just, it was a good day.
It's a unique problem. I don't think ChatGPT can even advise on that one. So that's very unique.
Yeah, just I won't go into details because it makes them sick. But it was just one of those days you'll never forget. But I don't think a job like that will come around again. But
definitely not.
So unique. Like you don't get that anywhere else.
No, you're definitely not going to get it as a sparring franchisee either. I was going to say as well with your family, and what do your family think about the whole thing? Because it can be quite daunting and, doing what you're doing. And how does your family think of where you are now after a year of doing it?
Oh, they love it. I'm home now. I used to work nights and weekends and stuff. I haven't worked a weekend, maybe done 2 jobs over the weekends. I'm home every night now. So I get home 4:00 every night. So that family time is really important to me. I can go to school events now because I can just plan around it if I need to. Whereas before I had to be in the store. Yes, they're worried about the dangers of it again, because every job we do there's a high risk to it. But again, we take that level of care with our suits and our respirators and everything like that. So we maintain as best we can to do it.
Yeah, I do have to add on that for people because that could be a concern of people. I know pest control has a similar sort of thing, but you do. I've seen it online. You do have the full white suits and the respirators and stuff, so you've got all the relevant equipment and all the training as well. So that shouldn't be a problem.
Right,
cool.
Again, if you do your job properly, it's not a problem.
And how'd you find the training in Melbourne? I didn't ask you about that part of it. When you come down to Melbourne to do the training, that went around a year ago. So how'd you find that whole experience?
Yeah, that's what sold me. I called with Franchisor on the Wednesday and said I'm in. Bought it that day. So yeah.
Oh, so you're on a shield before coming to training. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I had my doubts. Yeah, it's just coming down to the training. Won like 4 6-packs of beer and stuff like that. Loved it. Man,
well, at least
day and said I'm in.
Well, and what were your doubts then? Was it just about still unsure about how it all worked, or what was the doubts from your perspective?
Oh, it's just if I could do it.
Okay.
Like, again, coming out of the industry, it's just if I could do it, if I could run a business. Yeah. And then with the training and the gym's brand behind it, and just talking to the other people, potentially buying franchises, they had the same concerns. So I was like, well, we're all in the same boat kind of thing. I've seen so many case studies of people making it work. I was like, yep, I can do it too.
I love hearing that because, $250,000 revenue in your first year as a business owner is not a easy thing to do, but it's always, you obviously were always capable. And that's the thing what I love interviewing people like yourself, where you've got good management experience and you've always had it in you. It's just a matter of, what we put out there, is that actually match up to the hype we sort of put out there. So it's great to hear that it has married up for you as well, and that you're doing really, really well. It's a really great story, and I think it's a great industry. I think once this thing becomes regulated up in Queensland, especially with meth and asbestos, I think we're going to see a lot more people obviously enter the market, but you're obviously there first. So you're going to have pretty much the prime position to really build a serious business for yourself. And $250,000 revenue, I'll say again, is not a easy thing to do in your first year as a sole business, but especially doing a completely new thing like you're doing with how technical it could be. So well done on that achievement. And it's great to hear that you got a lot more family time than what you do prior.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, it's a perfect time to be in the HazMat business. It's, just the growth that's going to happen in the next 5 years. It's, just getting in early.
Especially out where you are, because I think I've interviewed a couple of franchisees up in Queensland. I think just because the weather and stuff like that, I think it's a lot more prevalent mold, especially, and other things as well. But I didn't know about the hoarding stuff, and that's obviously quite something where you don't really see people promoting online or much. But I think the hoarding thing and the crime scene and the trauma stuff could be quite big.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be. So it's gonna be good.
Cool. And is there anything else, Shaun, I haven't asked you, which I should have asked you?
No, I think that was everything. Yeah. I just really enjoyed it for last year. Can't wait for the next many years to come with all the growth and the getting the Jim's HazMat brand out there.
Well, that's the thing, right? We've got to build this brand, right? So I think it's just an awareness thing. But I think once people become aware of it and how valuable it actually is, it's a no-brainer, especially with real estate agents and property managers and stuff like that. But Shaun, I'll leave you go. You're in your car today, so we appreciate you pulling over and having a chat with us as well. And as Shaun said, HazMat's a great new division, which people, obviously we do a range of divisions in gyms, but it could be a really good one if you're looking for something a bit different and something that's going to have a really good future in terms of regulations and people need to get this sort of thing done. I think Jim's HazMat's a great option for anyone. But thank you for your time today, Shaun. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Shaun. No, thanks, mate. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. Thank you for listening to the episode of the Gyms podcast. If you want to learn more about the Gyms Group, head to gyms.net or call us on 131 546 Australia or 0800 454 654 New Zealand. And if you did like the episode as well, please make sure you leave a review or a comment or a thumbs up or a comment on the video as well. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.